allegedly from Shanghai, where a human being is using a drone with a fishing line in order to avoid starvation because the government there is locking people down and creating human disasters of grand proportions, denying them access to food. Yeah, modern problems call for modern solutions, but this is what the government's doing to the people there. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudowski here of WeAreChange.org. And man, there's some absolutely crazy news to get into today. As of course, this creature with man bazonkas is giving out health advice, trying to get a cool $1 billion, promoted by the corporate media with his larger takeover of American farmland, while another billionaire gets the complete utter opposite treatment, as of course he tries to bring back an old concept known as free speech. All of this is happening as now the Pope and the CIA head are coming together, warning about a very specific threat in Ukraine. What are they warning about? Well, we're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more, all on this independent media broadcast that strives to show you the true reality of the current situation that we are all facing. This, as it looks like the people of Shanghai, nearly 26 million people, are paying the ultimate price for government propaganda and disinformation, which is creating chaotic scenes in one of China's largest cities, where, of course, they have implemented a zero sickness policy. A policy that, a lot of people are asking some very serious questions about, since, of course, overwhelmingly the people of Shanghai have complied with the whims of the Chinese government every step of the way here, and they have complied. 90% of the population of Shanghai is estimated to have taken all the invasive medical procedures that they were asked to take on behest of the government, and the government, still unsatisfied with its larger power grab, is demanding more of its citizenry, as of course some videos of the true reality of their lockdown are too vicious to even show, too gruesome to even talk about here on this media platform, leaving a lot of people asking, if these people complied every step of the way, if they did everything the government wanted them to do, why is the government treating them worse and worse after that? Serious question that I think a lot of people should be asking, as of course this zero sickness policy that China has been implementing has been, of course, promoted and cheered on by individuals like Bill Gates, who of course is not a medical doctor but an overweight man-boobed businessman that literally is stating that China's policies towards this sickness is the policy that the world should be implementing. This, as he of course also works closely with the Chinese government and advises the president of China. This, as the flabby billionaire was spotted at one of Manhattan's restaurant hotspots, Nobu, just a few moments ago, of course, celebrating his Easter holiday with his 19-year-old daughter. This, as he also just gave a recent TED Talk where he said if the governments give him and his business buddies $1 billion and invested into his companies and organizations that he has an overwhelming amount of influence on, then and only then could we prevent the next big global sickness from affecting the world, which of course Bill Gates is unironically predicting will happen. Yes, Bill Gates is literally going to media outlets and telling them that there's going to be a worser, bigger, badder sickness that's going to hit the world, essentially fear-mongering about the problem, which very conveniently he has the solution to if we just give him $1 billion. And then a lot of people wonder to themselves, how did this man become so rich? Such an interesting conundrum. And maybe it's going to be one of the questions that The Guardian is going to ask him, as of course on Twitter, the supposed media organization known as The Guardian asked the general public to send in their questions to Mr. Gates, and overwhelmingly a lot of them were surrounding his very cozy, tight-knit relationship with a Mr. Epstein, which of course still largely is unknown to the general public, as these two have worked on a lot of, quote, scientific experiments together. What were they really doing? What was Bill Gates investing in here? Why was his second in command on Mr. Epstein's will? Well, that's a question that, of course, The Guardian should be asking, but most likely will not. They most likely will be trashing another billionaire known as Elon Musk, who over the weekend lost his spot as Twitter's largest shareholder, as Vanguard grouped up stakes to now own 10.3% of the company. This, as many people in the financial world said that Twitter took a, quote, poison pill in order to avoid being bought off by Elon Musk, who was offering a 38% premium to shareholders who didn't even get the chance to vote on being able to sell their stocks to, of course, Elon Musk. Now, it definitely does look like BlackRock and Vanguard and a lot of other very powerful financial institutions, including a Saudi prince, do not want Elon Musk to buy up Twitter. Why? Well, recently Elon Musk was actually talking about buying Twitter, where he said specifically he wants to buy Twitter to, quote, help freedom in the world, going on and saying specifically, I don't care about the economics at all, and that, quote, it's extremely important for the future of civilization, that it's important for the function of democracy, for the function of the United States as a free country among many other countries, and to help freedom in the world more importantly than the US. Now, it definitely looks like this ongoing fight for Twitter is still going on, and whether you trust him or don't trust him, it's at least good that representatively, Elon Musk is making a big, bold stand for the ideas of free speech and liberty amongst a lot of the disinformation and propaganda out there, as of course this is a direct threat against a lot of evil, powerful people who thrive off of lying to the general public and suppressing speech that of course is not indicative of their larger agenda or profit motives. And I think this threat to the establishment is perfectly represented by Mika Brzezinski, the daughter of Zbigniew Brzezinski, one of the main hounds and right-hand man to, of course, David Rockefeller, who came out on national television and had the gall to say this publicly to the world.
The dangerous, edges here are that he's trying to undermine the media, trying to make up his own facts. And it could be that while unemployment and the economy worsens, he could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think. And that is our job.
Yeah, if you look at the issues, Yamiche is right. He's doing exactly what he said.
Yeah, because, allowing people to talk to each other freely definitely does undermine the media that only wants you listening to the tightly controlled thoughts and ideas that they want you to think, that they decide for you what to specifically think, as it's their job, according to Mika Brzezinski, who said this, by the way, multiple times. This is not the first slip of the tongue here by Mika, as of course she routinely expresses these elitist thoughts and viewpoints that she literally dictates what people can and cannot think about. That is an extremely restrictive, destructive idea that limits free humanity and its larger potential on the world stage, as of course free speech is important for a free society, and a free society is important for a prosperous society. And this is why independent media is more important than ever. And that's why if you want to support this independent media outlet, you can very easily just by going to thebestpoliticalshorts.com and checking out the dozens of very entertaining, thought-provoking merchandise and search we have, which of course are a form of doing lazy activism that is effective, as you're able to spread ideas like the one I'm wearing on my shirt right now that specifically says if you need violence to enforce your ideas, then your ideas are worthless. Perfectly, of course, representing Mr. Gates' health policy here. And it's important to note here, as of course more speech gets limited, your ability to express yourself becomes more tightly controlled, that this is still one sure way of getting your message out there to the general public, to the people closest around you, to find friends, girlfriends, boyfriends, whoever it may be, with, of course, simple ideas that bind you together with, of course, a thing called common sense. Not a lot of people have that, but with wearing a shirt, you could find out who does just by simply going to thebestpoliticalshorts.com. If you're a member of LukeUncensored.com, by the way, we have exclusive merchandise only available for you at cost, at a super reduced price, no profit to us. We just, by the way, launched our McAfee t-shirt available to the general public, and we have another version of this only available to members on LukeUncensored.com. Lots of shirts, a brand new one coming every single week. Check them out, as of course there's even shirts on there that we cannot show you here on this particular platform. Thebestpoliticalshorts.com is where you need to go. Click the link down in the description below to find out more. And you should get them before there's utter chaos in the world, while you still can, as of course the President of the United States just finished yet another confusing, rambling speech and then tried to give an air handshake to someone who literally wasn't there. Yes, this is the man with the keys, with the button, with the, quote, nuclear football always in his possession. Literally just not building a lot of confidence in our current government, to say the least. The guy clearly has a lot of serious cognitive issues. There's people of his age, of his physical and mental abilities, that are being denied the access to drive cars. This man's driving an entire nation, allegedly. This, as of course, he's also making very important decisions about a conflict, a proxy conflict that's happening between Russia and the United States in the theater of Ukraine, which, of course, as we've been telling you, contrary to the corporate media reports that this was going to be a very long conflict, I still believe that to be the case, as, of course, major corporate media outlets were telling you that this conflict was going to be ending in just a few days, that Russia was totally going to take over Ukraine, and we told you, no, this is going to be a lot longer of a theater of conflict than a lot of other people expected. And now even CNN is reporting how the U.S. Secretary of State says that there's, quote, no short-term end in sight for the Russian conflict inside of Ukraine. And that is absolutely true, as of course Ukrainians are still defying Russian deadlines to surrender in Mariupol, where of course they are surrounded and facing extraordinary odds at any kind of victory there, as of course the Russians have taken over nearly all of that city, and there's a few resistors still left inside of it. Ukraine also announced that they will not be giving up the Donbass region, as previously before they have said that they were willing to concede on this. Now that looks like it is definitely not the case here, as of course this conflict is escalating, only going to escalate from here even more, probably continue for this entire year, and grossly endanger everyone in this world pointlessly for some larger geopolitical conquest of insanity that absolutely makes no sense at all, especially when you lay things out for the general public about what actually is going on there. War's dumb. It should be avoided, as of course the cost of war are too expensive for everyone involved here, as we are reaching the point, as we've been warning you, of a potential serious escalation to a nuclear war in this proxy conflict that's happening right now in Ukraine. And now even the Pope, even the CIA chief is coming out and saying that there is a very high likelihood that there could be a nuclear weapon used in Ukraine. The Pope also got the same message. He's also warning the world here, as of course it's important to point out here that when many people think of nuclear war, they think of course the attacks that the United States committed on Hiroshima and Nagasaki with huge bombs that of course devastated entire cities. There's also been a lot of developments towards nuclear weapons that of course have reduced the scale of destruction that they could produce. There's a term being thrown around in the general public about tactical small nuclear devices that potentially could be used here. And with the way that this conflict has been going for Russia, especially with them losing their flagship naval vessel inside of the Black Sea, it wouldn't surprise me if a desperate situation for Russia made them use desperate options in order to try to, of course, get an advantage throughout this entire situation. Now, the perspectives from the Russians, the Russian people, the Russian media, and the Russian government is almost the complete opposite of the perspective that, of course, the American people are getting from the American government. And when you see the reports coming out of Russia, you still see them talking about how this is a, quote, limited military operation, that it's not a war. And there's even hardliners on Russian television calling for Russia to declare this an official war. I think we're beyond that point. I think it's already a war, but seeing this kind of larger PR play by the Russians suggests that there definitely is going to be a further escalation here, as of course Russian state television is pushing for one, saying essentially declare war on Ukraine officially, escalate this conflict, end this conflict at all costs. And those are extremely dangerous hyperbolic statements that, of course, are coming from the Russians. The United States and the Western media have their own perspective, but it's important to note here that NATO, the United States, and other countries like Poland have been very involved in this entire conflict, to the point where now Russia is formally warning the United States to stop arming Ukraine, as Russia is saying that they will be shooting down military planes carrying Western arms to Ukraine. There's been a lot of very serious threats by the Russians against a lot of different countries, but the significant moves made against them by Norway, by Japan, by the United States, with the conflict not going their way in Ukraine, I think it's fair to say that we're dealing with a very dangerous situation for absolutely everyone involved here. Russia also has drafted 134,500 conscripts to its military, and I think it's fair to say that all the moves that they are making, that they are preparing for the worst case scenario for them, as there's some geopolitical experts like Martin Armstrong who are warning that the quote, West needs World War III, and their quote is no return to normal from here. Will there be this kind of global conflict where I think financially, economically, it's already happening? And throughout history, when we look at the larger currency wars, financial wars, they usually predominantly lead to hot wars. We have already seen the West and the East at odds in Syria, in Libya, in global theaters that have expanded and destroyed entire countries. These are called proxy wars, limited wars. Ukraine is the next theater that, of course, I've been warning about its significant ramifications for years now. We're here at this point where I think a lot of us need to be paying attention more than ever to try to avoid these larger escalations that I think are very significant. But that's just my perspective. That's just my opinion. I might be wrong, and if you think I am, let me know why down in the comment section below. If you thought I did a good job and you like what I said and represented here and showed here, share this video with your friends and family members, random strangers, people walking down the sidewalk. It doesn't matter. Sharing these videos means the world to me, and one of the few ways that these videos still get out there to the general public. There's no algorithm when it comes to word of mouth, when it comes to meeting people, when it comes to interacting with people, which I think as the situation becomes desperate for many people around the world is very critically important. If you haven't gotten to know your neighbor, get to know them now. Start to talk to your friends, to your family members, and just start to see where people are at. Cheesy plug. One way you could do that is with a t-shirt. You just look at their face. They see the shirt. You can see their face. A lot of people just walking down the street. You can see disgust, or you can see people laughing, cheering, and it's the perfect filter to see who knows what's up, who really doesn't. So again, link down in the description below. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys buying the shirts, sharing these videos, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for a lot more here on wearechange.org.